You ever had one of those mornings where a woman in pearls in a Bentley shows up at your door, 47 angry neighbors lined up behind her, and tells you your military service means absolutely nothing? Your lighthouse is coming down in 72 hours, and if you don't vacate, you'll be arrested for squatting on HOA property. Yeah, that happened. And what Margaret Blackthorne didn't know while she was spitting all that righteous anger was that Admiral Nathan Hayes, U.S. Navy, was sitting in my living room calmly recording every word on his phone while sipping coffee I'd just brewed. My name's Garrison Cross. I'm 38 years old, and 6 weeks ago I got handed a responsibility only 73 people in the entire country are trusted with. Now, before you write me off as just some cranky vet with a sea view, let me back up a second and tell you how a retired Navy SEAL ended up as the last line of defense for a lighthouse that'd soon be at the heart of a federal espionage scandal. 6 weeks earlier, I was in a coffee shop in Crystal Cove, the smell of ocean and espresso swirling together, pecking away at a memoir nobody's ever gonna read. My phone buzzes Pentagon area code. Lieutenant Cross said, the voice old but sharp. "This is Admiral Hayes. We need you for an assignment, unofficial but critical." I hadn't heard from Hayes since my medical discharge nerve damage left shoulder-long story. The Navy doesn't call unless there's real trouble. "Sir, I'm retired. Your shoulder won't matter for this, son. Meet me tomorrow, Naval Base San Diego." 0800. Next thing I know, I'm across from the Admiral in a room that smells like secrets and floor wax. He slides me a folder, half of it blacked out. Garrison ever heard of Lighthouse Point? I hadn't. There's a Cold War submarine detection array under that lighthouse. Still operational. We can't let it fall into private hands. We need a caretaker to keep it running, keep up the story, and call in anything weird. Now I know what you're thinking. Why's the government care about some crusty lighthouse? Let's just say if you like having a Navy that knows when Russian and Chinese subs are poking around, smash that like button. Seriously, every dollar keeps the lights on and the history protected. But anyway, 3 days later, I move in with a pickup full of gear and a sat phone with a direct line to naval intelligence. Place looked like a set from a spy movie. Upstairs was shabby chic all on purpose. Downstairs, through a fake wall and a hidden elevator, was a command center that'd make Tom Clancy blush. Servers, monitors, backup generators, you name it. First 3 days, quiet. I fixed railings, painted, made it look like a restoration job. I figured this would be the cushiest gig of my life. Then, Margaret Blackthorne rolled up in a pearl-white Bentley, looking like she'd just stepped out of a Vogue cover shoot, platinum hair, sunglasses worth more than my truck. 2 clipboard warriors in tow. "You there?" she called. "I'm Margaret Blackthorne, president of the Coastal Estates HOA. You have 5 minutes to explain what you're doing on this property." I introduced myself, told her it was federal property. She laughed, one of those glassy, mean laughs. Federal property. This place was abandoned. Now it's HOA jurisdiction, rezoned in 2018. She whipped out a folder, all drama. Here's the county ruling. All structures in coastal estates are under our oversight. You're out of compliance by about 15 regulations. Paint's the wrong color. Fence is 4 inches too tall, no permits for the repairs. Oh, and you owe us $1,800 in unpaid HOA dues. I tried to explain, but she cut me off. Your paperwork is irrelevant. You're lowering property values. This is a hazard. That's when I noticed her eyes kept darting toward the basement. She knew or suspected something was down there. "Mrs. Blackthorne, Ms. Blackthorne, I'm divorced." She said it like she'd won. "This property belongs to the U.S. Navy. It's not under civilian oversight." Suddenly her mask dropped. "Your military service means nothing here. This lighthouse comes down in 72 hours, and if you're still inside, you'll be arrested for squatting on HOA property." She turned to leave, but not before muttering to an aide, "Call Dorian. Tell him we found it." "Found what?" And who the hell was Dorian? That night I called Hayes. His answer was chilling. Dorian Blackthorne is CEO of Coastal Defense Solutions, private maritime security. Margaret's ex. Their business partners and Homeland Security's flagged them for contacts with foreign operatives. Garrison, this isn't about HOA rules. They want what's under the lighthouse. The next day, it escalated. At sunrise, I found a bright orange violation taped to my door. Structure exceeds height limit by 32 feet. Later, a process server hit me with illegal navigation hazard. Cease lighthouse operation. By lunch, 6 more violations. My favorite unapproved wildlife habitat. Apparently, seagulls were a code violation now. But paperwork was just the start. That afternoon, 6 men in tactical gear showed up flashing badges that wouldn't fool a mall cop. Safety inspection, they said. HOA Regulation 17.4. I blocked the door. This is federal property. Their leader, South African accent, smiled like a shark. We'll see. They spent 2 hours photographing everything, focusing on the basement entrance. One had what looked like ground-penetrating radar, reconnaissance, not an inspection. I got photos of every face and license plate, sent them to Naval Intelligence. That evening, I met my ace in the hole, Eleanor Tidewater, 82, cane in hand, eyes sharp as a gull's. My father kept this lighthouse for 40 years, she said. That Blackthorn woman's evil. She drove out 3 families before you with fines, vandalism, even intimidation. And I saw her meet with Russians' boats anchored just offshore. She's been at this for years. Next day, a crowd staged a community protest. Local news rolled up. Margaret, now in a grandma cardigan, told the cameras, "We're just protecting our children." This man's turned the lighthouse into a compound. No proof of government authority. She played the victim, building a public narrative, while 6 of her protesters photographed license plates, gathering intel. Not your average HOA drama. That night, the SOSUS array detected 3 submarines, all at the exact spots Eleanor mentioned. Signatures didn't match anything in the U.S. database. I called Hayes. "Admiral, they've got foreign subs mapping the area. How the hell did they get the coordinates?" "Someone on the inside, sir. Probably Margaret." Next morning, 4 a.m., I heard heavy machinery. Bulldozer, 3 trucks, private security. Margaret stood out front, bullhorn in hand. "You have 1 hour to vacate before demolition for public safety." I ran out phone recording. "You can't demolish federal property." She waved a document. "Emergency order from the county, total fake." But then I noticed one contractor wore a Russian dive watch. Cyrillic letters, same model I'd seen in Ukraine. This was no HOA, this was foreign ops. I needed proof. I bluffed about a deed in the basement safe. Margaret's face went white. She whispered to her guy, who made a call in Russian-accented English. My hands were shaking, but I knew this was espionage. I played for time, acted overwhelmed. "Give me 24 hours to contact my superiors." She agreed, but kept her team camped out. That night, I slipped out through an old coal chute and met Eleanor. "You got any documents proving federal ownership?" She grinned, led me to her attic, and handed over a leather portfolio, her father's collection. Inside, Executive Order 9984, signed by Truman, designating Lighthouse Point as strategic defense property. Any attempt to transfer, sell, or compromise shall be considered treason. There was more, a 1987 Navy letter confirming the cover story, thanking Eleanor's father. I'd hit the jackpot. Back at the lighthouse, the SOSUS array pinged with active sonar. Someone was mapping the installation, an act of war. I called Hayes, who told me the State Department and the President were now briefed. "Don't leave. If you do, they'll destroy the evidence. Hold until 0600. Margaret returned at 2 p.m. New notary, more suits, probably actors. "Mr. Cross, the county condemns this building. Evacuate." I pulled out Eleanor's documents. "Before you do, read this. Executive Order 9984, Federal Property Strategic Reserve. You move on this, you're committing treason." Margaret's tough act faltered. Her Russian henchman took one look and panicked, calling someone in Russian. Margaret gave me 6 hours to authenticate the document. As they pulled back, I spotted hidden cameras in the rocks. Tonight I knew would be their real move. That evening, I found a hidden compartment behind the old Fresnel lens. Inside a 1951 journal from Eleanor's dad's surveillance photos from the 80s and blueprints labeled Operation Deep Watch with Soviet notes. The journal laid it out. Navy engineers worked here at night. Our enemies will come for it. And a 1987 entry Blackthorns visited. Caught Dorian photographing the basement. This operation had been in the works for decades. Soon, Zodiac boats appeared offshore, 3 teams, black tactical gear moving in. Margaret's land team advanced with real weapons, not clipboards. I locked down the lighthouse, activated defenses, water cannons, knocked climbers off the cliffs. Fog system blinded the rest. Then they cut the power. Emergency batteries lit everything red. My sat phone buzzed, Viper 11, orbiting eyes on 18 hostiles. Stay low, things are about to get loud. The basement door blew. Margaret herself was there, dressed for war. Take him alive, we need his access. I fought them as long as I could, but then the whump, whump, whump of helicopters. SEAL Team 6, fast roping down FBI, swarming the property. Margaret tried to run, but was tackled and zip-tied by a SEAL. You can't do this, HOA jurisdiction. The FBI agent Sarah Kingston read her rights, espionage, treason, the works. We've been watching for weeks, needed you to make your move. In the end, the Blackthorns' 30-year plan collapsed overnight. Margaret and Dorian were tried for espionage, sentenced to decades. Russian operatives were traded in secret swaps. The HOA was dissolved, property values soared, and the whole neighborhood breathed easy. As for me, I got offered the job of permanent caretaker. Sarah and I eventually married right there in the lighthouse, Admiral Hayes officiating. The SEALs formed the honor guard. Local news reported lighthouse keeper weds FBI agent, no mention of Russian spies. Years passed. Eleanor Tidewater passed away sharp as ever. We named our daughter after her. And every night as I sit watching the Pacific with Admiral, our German shepherd, at my feet, I remember sometimes the wildest wars are fought right at home. You ever think an HOA drama could be cover for a 30-year spy ring? You tell me, what's the wildest thing you've seen? A homeowners association try to pull off? Drop your story in the comments and let's talk about what it really means to keep watch. Because in the end, the lighthouse always wins. That's what guardians do. We stand the watch no matter who comes knocking.